Today we got some stories of when the real world hit that spoiled rich kid. I know you'll enjoy them as they're super satisfying, so sit back, relax, leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, and let's just jump right into it.
And we're crying, crying, crying like a wounded animal.
So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the first story Gabriel, right? So anyways, there's a kid in Gabriel's class who is your very standard, typical spoiled kid, right? His parents kind of gave him everything he ever wanted. He never had to work for anything. And honestly, low-key, that was like robbing him of something. I know you guys might think I'm crazy, but I think like when parents give kids everything they've ever wanted and they never have to work for anything, nothing is special anymore. And I know you guys might be thinking, well, he got what he wanted. And I'm like, I don't know. I think there's something valuable in working for what you get. But either way, that's irrelevant to the story. So anyways, the spoiled kid, his parents buy him a $50,000 car. I don't know exactly what car this is. I just know that they spent around $50,000 for it because that exact number is important for later in the story. So, yeah, the spoiled kid is telling everyone about his new car. And when he was telling people, and Gabriel was there, you would have thought that the spoiled kid was excited. He was grateful. He was ready to hit the day because you know what? His parents has bought him a $50,000 car. That's incredible. The fact that anyone drives a car over $20,000 is beyond me, but or even over $5,000, bro. But sure, $50,000 probably had all this like cool extra stuff. You would have thought, right? Surely this kid is, very grateful right now. Surely this kid is like, wow, thank you, mom and dad. You're the greatest. No, this kid was complaining because he said anything under $100,000 car is below him. Which honestly, everyone in the room, like some people were trying to check this kid and they were like, bro, what do you mean beneath you? None of us have cars. The fact that you even have a car, even if it's like a $200 beater car, which I mean, it gets you from point A to point B, so who cares? Even if you had just a car, right? That's still better than most of us. But no, right? The spoiled kid's like, well, no, actually, because I'm worth $100,000 of a car. And yeah, so he basically got in a big fight with everyone, not physically, but like a word fight. Because people were saying you're being like spoiled, you're not appreciating what you had, right? Or what you have. And he's saying, well, I deserve X or I deserve Y. Like, I just deserve a $100,000 car. I don't know how else to say it, man. But yeah, so the spoiled kid is like very upset. And by the end of it, he says, you know what? I'm going to have a $100,000 car by the end of the week and you guys will see. And Gabriel, the subscriber, leans in and says, well, what do you mean by that? Because, I mean, he was just bought a $50,000 car. So why on earth would his parents now buy him a $100,000 car? It just doesn't really make that much sense at all. And Gabriel goes on to say, if I happen to crash my car by accident, they're definitely going to buy me a new car. And I'm going to tell them that it's going to be a $100,000 car or no car at all. And Gabriel looks at the spoiled kid. And everyone else kind of looks at the spoiled kid thinking, does that actually work? Like, are you telling me you actually believe if you can tell your parents, either get me a $100,000 car or no car at all? Like, bro, I don't know. This isn't threatening them, bro. They could very easily choose the no car at all option. Like, that's the thing I don't understand. Normally, when you're trying to pressure someone into doing something, option A is the option you want, and option B is bad for them. How is option B here bad for the spoiled kid's parents? It literally just means that they'll be able to not spend more money on a car for this kid who genuinely doesn't even need a car at this point. So yeah, sure enough, Gabriel that day intentionally started beating up his car. He didn't like slam the gas into a tree because that could like damage him really bad. But he was just going around bumping his car. He's like bumping it into everything, slamming it up, scratching it up, and is playing basically bumper cars with everything around him. So yeah, he actually got the car so beat up and destroyed that he totaled the car, bro. Like, I don't know how he did it without, like, really damaging and, like, hurting himself or anything, but he was able to completely total the car. And, he called AAA or whatever, and eventually called his parents, be like, Mom, Dad, I got in a car accident or whatever. They're like, oh, no. Because, obviously, I would be, if my kid got into, or if I had a kid, right? or when I have a kid, right? If they got into a car accident, I'd be very concerned. And, when he gets there, when the parents get there, or Gabriel's parent, not Gabriel, the spoiled kid's parents get there, he basically goes on to say, well, I'm going to need a new car. And they say, well, we just got you one. Like, this is kind of unfortunate that you totaled it. We can look into it, though. But then the spoiled kid basically exposes himself a little bit and is like, okay, well, mom and dad, you're either going to buy me a new car that's $100,000 or no car at all. And the spoiled kid's dad is like, excuse me? The spoiled kid's like, you know what? I'll be straightforward with you guys. I didn't get in a car crash. I wrecked my car on purpose because, a $50,000 car, it's just beneath me at this point. So you guys are either going to get me a new $100,000 car or you're not going to get me a car at all. I guess in the spoiled kid's mind, this ultimatum of sorts was actually one that would these parents would be like, oh no, you're so right. Oh no. But actually what ended up happening was, you guessed it. His parents just never bought him another car again. And yeah, this kid was like a sophomore in high school. I mean, like, this kid asked for one later on, like when he was in college. Nope. His parents do not forget this. So yeah, it completely backfired. And then he actually, the spoiled kid actually had to start working for his stuff. And because his parents started to extrapolate this attitude of, you must get me the best thing ever or else, to everything else in his life. So yeah, this kid, it was I guess it was for the better because this kid now had to actually earn what he wanted, and that, that makes life a little better sometimes. But the kid did not get a car, believe it or not. We're going to call the subscriber who submitted the second story John. So anyways, John had a roommate in college that always okay, so I'll just get right into it. So John had a spoiled kid roommate in college. And a couple weeks in, his roommate was bragging about how he chose the lightest major possible. Like, he chose the least intensive major possible. Not because that was the major that he had interest in, not because that was the major that he wanted to pursue a career with, but because he chose that major very specifically so that he would have to do the least amount of work possible just to pass college. Because he went on to explain to John that, his parents were loaded. They had a ton of money. And they basically just told him, you need to go to college, you need to get an education, and you need to, and then, like, you'll be fine. Like, as long as you get an education, we'll help you out. Which, like, this is definitely the kid who watches those, like, videos. It's like, you don't need college, man. Like, college is a scam. And he's like, yeah, man, college is a scam. You're right, dude. Which, I'm not going to lie, there are a lot of instances where college might not be the ideal return on investment and best life choice ever. However, this is not the kid who it would apply to, right? That'd be the kid who, like, takes out a lot of student loans and is really in, like, he's really in debt from, like, his student loans, and then his degree doesn't help him get a job that is strong enough to help pay off his loans quick enough, especially for the investment he made. It's also a time investment. You got a limited amount of that, etc. No, that does not apply to this kid. It doesn't matter if this kid had $1 billion loans. He was fine. But anyways, right? So this kid went on to explain that to John. And now John would watch as this kid never attended classes ever. Like, this kid would never be in class, ever. It would just not be a thing that happened. And, he was like, he would just, like, never do anything. This kid was always out partying, doing the fun stuff, only the fun stuff, never the hard stuff, which for this kid's major was like, oh, coloring time, guys. Make sure to color in between the lines for the super hard homework activity. But yeah, this kid would literally just be, like, not paying. He would just not be going to school. He would not be doing his work. And guess what happened? I know this is going to be a shocker. He actually flunked out sophomore year, which, I mean, was incredibly difficult for his major. You literally just had to show up and just say hello. You just had to exist and you would be fine. But he never existed in any of his classes. So I ended up flunking out. I guess John, the subscriber, heard of this from, like, someone else who was, like, kind of friendly or whatever, right? And apparently the spoiled kid was, like, convinced that it didn't even matter at this point. That, his parents would help him out no matter what, even if he didn't get a college education. But that was, in fact, not the case. Because his parents actually cut him off after this. I think they realized that they kind of, that they created this monster, basically, and that the reason why he sucked so bad was low-key because of the level of just like the lack of struggle they ever had, like that they ever gave him, right? They never gave him any. I mean, you are a product, you are a byproduct of your environment, right? So it is kind of on them that they created an environment that was just so incredibly bad, right? It was just so incredibly bad that this is how we turned out. So his parents completely cut him off. And John heard that, over the next couple of years, that this kid actually kind of got his life together a little bit. I think he definitely was pouting and freaking out for the first probably 6 months, but eventually got his life together. He went to a trade school, and he actually has a pretty solid job right now. And he kind of put his life together, and he's definitely a much better person with a lot more character now. We're going to call the subscriber who submitted the third story Sarah. So anyways, Sarah had like 3 friends at college. And at this college, like, it was a pretty expensive one, but Sarah went here with a pretty significant financial aid package, and her 3 friends did not. That doesn't say anything bad about the friends. That's just literally how life is sometimes. That's just the situation. However, Sarah and these 3 friends became pretty close, and they were thinking about doing something together for spring break. And one of the friends was like, oh, we should go to X location. And Sarah was like, oh, that sounds great. All the friends came together. They were all super excited, right? Because, it was a really cool vacation spot, and things looked pretty good. And so basically, Sarah got a text message from one of the friends saying, here's a link to the tickets if you want to buy them soon. Let's all sit in the same row, so buy them tonight, basically. And Sarah didn't think anything that much of it until she clicked the link. She checked the tickets. The tickets were $2,000. $2,000. That's like 2 iPhones, which even iPhones are expensive / overpriced, low-key. For one, okay, it was there and back, but still. So Sarah was looking at this, and she was like, $2,000 for tickets? If you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. Leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing. Subscribe if you are new, and let's just jump right back into it. So anyways, Sarah's just looking at these tickets, and she's like, there's just no way that I could possibly buy these. And she was like, she casually brought it up to her friends, being like, oh, wow, these tickets are $2,000. Like, that's pretty crazy. And her friends kind of looked at her. Okay. These friends, they were not mean people, so they did not look at her with oh, you can't afford $2,000 for tickets? You must be broke AF. Okay, they didn't suck, right? But they kind of looked at her like, what? Like, I didn't even think about that. Kind of the, I don't even look at the price tag, Father dearest, we'll take care of it type look, right? And Sarah started to realize that her friends didn't see any issue with it. So there was one friend in that friend group of 3 who Sarah thought would be the most understanding. Not that the others wouldn't be understanding, but Sarah thought that one would be the most understanding. And she was. So she basically sat her down. She's like, look, I want to go out with you guys. You guys are my close friends, and I want to go on spring break. I just can't, I can't take these tickets, right? They're just way too expensive for me. And the girl's like, wow, like, I'm sorry. I didn't even think of that. Like, I really should have. Like, it's really embarrassing for me to put that on you and not, like, and then Sarah's like, hey, look, it's fine. It's fine. It's not your fault that, you didn't think of it. Sarah genuinely had no gripes against these girls, and, she really did like them. They were good. They're good people, right? They just lived in a different world. And, Sarah's like, you guys, you don't need to go anywhere else. Like, you 3 can go. I promise you, I don't care. I'll just go home. I've wanted some home time anyways. You don't need to worry about it. And the girl's looking at her, says, okay, well, let me think about it for a second. So Sarah goes back, and the next day comes around, and Sarah's hanging out with her 3 friends, and they're not even talking about spring break. And that's when Sarah's friend, the one that she talked to, announces that they have changed plans, that they're all going to go back to her house, which she lived like a 45-minute car ride away, because, and at her house or whatever, they were then going to go and get an Airbnb in a local area or whatever. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the friend that Sarah talked to is actually pretty cool, and she stepped up to the plate because she basically went ahead and I think she alluded to the other ones what the problem was, and they decided to change their entire trip from the crazy expensive flight over to a car ride to Sarah's friend's house and then a car ride to an Airbnb. And while gas is pretty expensive right now, it is definitely not $2,000 expensive. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the final story Luke. So anyways, Luke had a pretty big friend group in college. There's a lot of people there. There's also mixed guys and girls. And they all went on a vacation together. And so they all pull up to the airport. And I don't know if you guys have ever been flying together, but oh, I just hit my knee on something. Ow. Anyways, so they all show up. And there was a girl who was looking very lost and confused. And Luke just thought that she had never flown before, which is totally fine. Like, you guys don't have to fly around. You're not really missing much in the flying experience. Trust me. I don't really fly that often myself. Occasionally I'll do. But anyways, yeah, Luke was looking at her and she was very lost, I guess you could say. So Luke kind of just assumed that this girl had never flown before. And that's when this girl goes on to say something that completely shocks Luke. She says, "I've never flown public before." Which normally when you haven't flown in general, like you've never flown on an airplane, you don't say "I've never flown public." Like Luke's saying to himself, yeah, it's all public. Like, what are you talking about? And that's when this girl specifies, like, no, I mean, I do fly. And Luke looks at her like, what? You just contradicted yourself. You just said that I don't fly public. And the girl looks at him and says, no, I fly all the time. I've only flown on private jets, though. I've never flown on a public airport. And Luke's like, what? Yeah, so basically this girl has never flown in a public airport before. She's only flown on private jets. And so Luke's like, okay, I guess I learned something new about you today. I did not know you were mega loaded. But anyways, I can help you out, though. Basically, Luke is like, yeah, I can help guide you through. So basically, they go to TSA. She's like, what's this? And he's like, well, they have to check you. And he's like, what? Or she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, so just you have to take off your... She's like, I don't want to take off my shoes. And he's like, I don't think you have a lot of choice in the matter. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I just don't think you have a lot of choice, but okay. And she's like, fine, I'll do it. So she goes through. So this girl is complaining the entire time, right? And she hasn't told anyone else that this is her first time flying public, so everyone else just thinks that she's like, you know, used to this, but still annoyed with it, because even if you're used to something, it can still kind of be annoying, right? But no, the truth is, in fact, she's just never flown private before. So she eventually gets on, they load onto the airplane, and she looks in, and she's like, Luke. And Luke's like, yeah, what's up? He's like, is this actually all the space we have? And she's pointing towards the first class seats, which her parents bought her first class tickets. And Luke's like, wait until you see the seats that I'm sitting in. And he points back there, and she literally gasps. Because the horrors of flying, right? Which, yeah, I'm not going to lie. Flying, I've never flown in a first class seat. I've definitely, I always like economy, whatever. It does the job. It definitely does the job. But wow, that is crowded. I'm not going to lie, that is those seats are small. They are cramped. But yeah, so after they get off the flight, the girl is complaining the entire time about how, once they get off, she's like, oh my God, my legs, they're so stiff. And no one was really being like, oh, I'm so sorry you have to sit in the first class seats. Oh, I'm so sorry, that must be so hard for you. They were all kind of just ignoring her because, yeah, they were pretty stiff too. But guess what? They weren't saying anything about it. And also, guess what? They were actually in tight seats. She was not. The first class seats that she was sitting in, she could just recline as much as she wanted to, but no, right? No, of course not. She had to be the one who complained. They couldn't complain, though, obviously. And, yeah, after that, she was pretty cool, but Luke learned something new about his friend today. Today, we got some stories of some spoiled brats who think that they truly do rule the world, just because daddy has a little bit of money. I know for a fact you will enjoy this, so sit back, relax, leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing, and let's just jump right into the stories.
And we cried, cried, cried like a wounded animal.
So we're going to call a subscriber who submitted the first story Ahmed. Anyways, right, so there's a kid in Ahmed's class who, he was the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid truly did believe that just because, he had parents who were very rich, that he could literally do anything and that everyone wanted him. And there was a girl in Ahmed's class, and also in the spoiled kid's class, who was very pretty. She was very nice. She was everything that anyone could have wanted, or any guy could have wanted, or any girl could have wanted, right? And, Ahmed had a little bit of a crush on her. He's not going to lie, guys. He's not going to lie. But at the same time, right, he knew that, she probably wasn't into him. But he also knew for a fact that she was not into the spoiled kid. However, one day, the spoiled kid sat down next to Ahmed and his friends. He said, "Boys, I will bet you $10 that the girl, I don't know, let's call her Claire, right? Claire is gonna fall in love with me tomorrow." And Ahmed is like, "Bro, I guarantee, bro, that is not the case. I guarantee that's not gonna happen. Sure, I'll take you up on this bet." And sure enough, his friends also did. It was actually a bet structured. The spoiled kid was like, "I will pay you each $10. And only one of you needs to pay me $10 if I win." So it was a pretty good bet. So anyways, Ahmed is a little bit like, okay, what's this kid's plan? What's his angle? I know for a fact she's not into him now. And he says he can get her by tomorrow. So yeah, sure enough, tomorrow rolls around. And the spoiled kid walks in. And he has one of those Supreme shirts. You know the shirts that go for like $500 because it says Supreme on it? And it's probably just like a standard Hanes t-shirt or whatever with some like paint on it, bro. Yeah, the spoiled kid walked in, very proudly showing off the fact that he had his Supreme t-shirt on. And sure enough, he walks back to the back of the class and he looks at Ahmed. He's like, "Checkmate, baby." And Ahmed is like, "Bro, what? Like, I don't get what you're saying. What do you mean checkmate, bro? Like, what do you mean checkmate?" And the kid's like, "Well, bro, do you not see my Supreme t-shirt on? There's no way she can resist." Guys, look, if you're into the hype beast stuff, that's totally fine. You can like whatever you like. But let me just say, from my own life experience and observations, I'm pretty sure that a girl will not go down to her knees and beg to be with you just because you have that new Supreme Gucci brick in your back pocket, right? You're not gonna whip out the Louis Vuitton brick and be like, "Yo, marry me." And she'd be like, "Oh my God, yes." Yeah, that is probably not going to happen. Just a heads up. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot. Who knows? I mean, I might be an idiot and be right here. I don't know. Both are possible. But anyways, the spoiled kid goes up to the girl that he's a crush on. He's like, "So, Claire, hello there." Claire looks up and is like, "Hi there, spoiled kid." And spoiled kid's like, "So I was wondering, did you want to go on a date with me this Friday?" And Claire was completely thrown off guard. So she's like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to be seeing anyone right now. No offense, it's not personal. I just don't think I want to see anyone." And spoiled kid's like, "Oh, you must not have seen." And he turns around and he like flexes out his chest to show very, very prominently that he had, the Supreme t-shirt on. And she's looking at him. She's like, What am I looking at?" He's like, "The t-shirt. Look at the t-shirt." She's like, "Oh, Supreme. Okay, that's very nice. Are you saying that you're Supreme?" And he's like, "No, it is a very expensive streetwear brand, and you must like me because of it." And she's like, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to be dating anyone." So spoiled kid very angrily walks to the back of the classroom. And he did not have the money to give them because he expected so confidently that he was going to win, that she was going to fall in love with him because of the t-shirt he was wearing, that the spoiled kid literally didn't even bring the money. He just expected that, no, he was going to be fine, guys. Like, why are you even questioning, bro? Like, obviously this kid's going to be fine. But no, that was not the case. So yeah, the next day comes around, he brings in the money, and he gives it to Ahmed and his friends. Anyways, we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the next story Ibrahim. So there's a kid in Ibrahim's class who was the spoiled kid, right? He was a very standard, stereotypical spoiled kid. And sure enough, right, at Ibrahim's school, you could either bring in your own lunch or you could have the school lunch. The school lunch was atrocious. It was awful. There was no redeeming qualities about the school lunch. Nothing about it was good. It was awful. And Ibrahim just kind of dealt with it every single day, as everyone who went to the school dealt with it. He dealt with it like they did, you know? It's just how it goes. It's literally just how it goes, man. So sure enough, right, this all happened one day, and the spoiled brat is sitting there, and you hear him start to freak out, so people turn around. And do you guys know why the spoiled brat was freaking out? He was freaking out because he forgot to bring in the packed lunch that his mother had made him. Because the spoiled brat would always bring in his own lunch, which I can't blame him. Like, I probably would too at this school. But his mom would always bring him in like, okay, do you want beef Wellington or filet mignon this morning, son? He'd be like, those are my options? Ugh, disgusting. No, but, you know, he would always bring in his own lunch, and it would always be super awesome or whatever. And he was freaking out because he started to realize that he needed to eat the school lunch. So anyways, they all walk into the cafeteria, and Ibrahim is behind the spoiled kid. And he hears the spoiled kid, like, just mumbling about, oh my God, man, I'm gonna have to eat this stuff. What if I die? What if I get chlamydia, bro? What if I explode from this, bro? I don't think my delicate stomach could take something like this. I'm not gonna make it. I should call my mom. I should call my dad. Just kind of freaking out the entire time. And Ibrahim's kind of thinking to himself, bro's really never had a normal school lunch before. That's absolutely crazy. So sure enough, the spoiled kid grabs a tray, gets in line, and looks at the lunch lady, who's scooping out very mysterious meat onto people's plates. And the spoiled kid, you know, the lunch lady, puts it on his plate, takes a whiff of it, gags. And then, when the spoiled kid goes to sit down, Ibrahim looks over and notices that the spoiled kid breaks down into tears, is straight up crying. There are tears spilling down his face because he needs to eat the school lunch. And he's like, no, I just wanted my filet mignon, and this is what I get. Am I a bad person? Have I done something to deserve this? And, like, everyone's looking around, and I think he was, like, looking for sympathy, but you're not gonna get a lot of sympathy when literally everyone else at the school has to eat the lunch too. It's not like, wow, you're going through something really hard and unique. It's like, no, you're going through something that literally everyone else at the school is going through, bro. I'm sorry, they're not going to feel bad for you. I don't know how else to say it. So yeah, after that point on, Ibrahim, or the spoiled kid, would never, ever eat the school lunch again, and he would always take out his filet mignon, his beef Wellington, I don't know, he would take out like the craziest food ever, right? And he would always tell everyone about the stories of that one time he ate at the school cafeteria. And he would tell the people at lunch at the school cafeteria who are eating the cafeteria food. They're not going to be entertained by a story of you. Oh my God, guys, you're not going to believe it. I ate the food that you're eating right now. I almost died. Like, they're going to be like, bro, shut up. Anyways, we're going to call a subscriber who submitted the next spoiled kid story, Nasir. So Nasir's school was going on a bus trip to New York City. It was kind of like their big school trip or whatever. So they all get on, and in Nasir's grade, there is one kid who is the spoiled rich kid, right? This just a very standard description. I don't have to go into details. You already know what he's like. So anyways, they get off the bus, single file line, and they're walking into the streets of New York City. And the spoiled rich kid comes up to Nasir, and it's like, oh my God. And he points to someone, and it's just like a normal person. And he's like, oh my God, Nasir, help. There are poor people around here. And Nasir's like, bro, what? And the spoiled kid's like, Nasir, I'm really scared. I'm used to you guys, I'm used to the poor people at my school. Like you, Nasir. And Nasir's like, bro. He's like, but I'm in New York City right now. I'm surrounded by so many poor people, I can't take it this year. I have a daily tolerance of you guys. And this year's like, bro, chill out. They're not going to eat you, bro. Like, what are you saying? And he's like, no, I saw them on Twitter. They said that they were going to eat me. As a, like, oh, they're going to eat the rich or something. And this year's like, bro, this year's like, of course I have to babysit this kid. And I'm not even getting paid, dude. But anyways, this year's like, it's fine. Just stick close to me. You'll be fine. Trust me. It'll be all good. And the kid's like, oh, okay. So yeah, they're walking around New York. They're getting pointed out to whatever. And eventually they hit one of the pretzel stands. Okay, look, the pretzel stands in New York City are not as good as people make them out to be. However, the food trucks that are the same around every single corner are a staple, so they decided to go there. And everyone got a pretzel. And, the spoiled kid was taking a bite, and he's like, this poor person's sustenance actually isn't that bad. And Nasir looks at him and says, can you not call it a poor person's sustenance? These are pretty good. He's like, that's what I'm saying. For being a bunch of poor people eating this, these are pretty good. And Nasir's like, dude, you need to stop with that. He's like, what? I'm shocked. I'm recovering from stress right now, Nasir. I can say whatever I want. I'm a victim. And Nasir just looks at this kid. It's like, bro really thinks that he's a victim for being in the presence of people with a lower income than his father. Like, just let that sink in for a second. Let that sink in for a second. So yeah, eventually they get back on the bus, and the spoiled kid comes up to Nasir and is like, thank you, Nasir, for protecting me against the plebeians, the peasants. And Nasir's like, what? He's like, you are a noble peasant yourself. Thank you for protecting me against others of your kind. And Nasir just looks at him and is like, you're welcome, bro. And he says, you're welcome, bro, with the straightest face you have ever seen. The least emotion out of a man ever. Because he's just like, this kid, bro. This freaking kid, bro. Yeah, we're going to call a subscriber submitted the next story and final story, Chiji. So anyways, there was a kid in Chiji's class, and this was like senior year of high school. It was a senior spring, too. They were all in college. So, like, grades still matter, because if you fail a bunch of classes, you can still be dropped from your college. But it's not like you need to sweat out your grades as hard as possible. However, the spoiled kid basically got bought into his college, and he's at a point where he doesn't even think the grades matter. He thinks he can completely coast and fail out and, like, or not fail out, but just, like, it doesn't really matter, right? But he also believes that teachers will just be cool, or whatever he was thinking, like, quote-unquote, be cool, and give him at least a C even if he doesn't do anything. So anyways, one day, the spoiled kid, Chiji, and all of them show up to a test. They take it. Spoiled kid fails the test because he didn't write anything. He just wrote his name down and then didn't fill out a single answer. I think the spoiled kid was just so convinced that the teachers were just going to give him a C just for showing up. They didn't even bother trying. Like, not even, like, randomly guessing, which wouldn't have done well either. But didn't even try enough to randomly guess. So when the teacher went around handing back the grades or the papers or whatever, the spoiled kid sees he, like, legitimately failed it because he didn't answer anything. And he's like, hey, what's the meaning of this? And the teacher turns around and says, what's the meaning of this? You didn't fill out a single question. And Chiji just kind of like grabs his metaphorical popcorn and watches the show that's about to go down. Real quick comment, popcorn down below. There's going to be so many people commenting spoiled, thinking that they got the secret word of the day. Well, guess what? It's freaking popcorn today. Anyways, Chiji's just watching this go down. So the spoiled kid gets up and is like, bro, I just want to see in this class. I'm not going to do anything, and you're going to give me a C. And the teacher's like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm sorry. And the spoiled kid gets up and gets all up in the teacher's face. He's like, well, I'm going to make sure you give me a C, dude. I'm going to make sure that I'm getting a C no matter what. And the teacher's just like, no, I'm, what? Like, what do you mean? No. And the spoiled kid's like, I'm going to count to 3, and you're going to give me a C on this paper, or you're going to be in a world of pain. Like, this kid was a massive skadoosh bag, right? Just, it's just how it is. And the teacher's like, no, you can count to 1 billion for all I care about, and I'm not going to give you that C. You're getting an F because you didn't write a single thing down. Look, I would have been generous if you tried, even if you tried poorly. And the kid's like, 1, 2, just stare down at the teacher right there. And Chiji's like, in Chiji's mind, he's like, the spoiled kid is totally bluffing right now. There's not a shot that he's actually going to do anything, right? And the kid's like, all right, I warned you, bro. Boom! This kid legitimately thought that he was, like, above the law. The spoiled kid legitimately thought that rules didn't apply to him because the spoiled kid legitimately swings a right hook and socks the teacher in the face. When this happened, like, 3 kids... Okay, the spoiled kid... A little bit of context. The spoiled kid was not liked. Everyone thought he was a major, like, loser, annoying, like, brat, whatever. So when the kids in the class saw this, they saw this as a perfect opportunity to quote-unquote save the day. So, like, 3 guys immediately jump on top of the spoiled kid when he swings on the teacher. Their explanation is going to be, oh, we just wanted to make sure that he didn't fight the teacher anymore. We were just trying to make sure that we were keeping everyone safe, when in reality, that might have been true. But the main reason that they probably did any of that is literally just so they could get a swing on the spoiled kid, because he was such an annoying brat that they were just like, yes, an opportunity, let's go. Yeah, but sure enough, the spoiled kid swings on the teacher, boom, makes contact with his face, but the spoiled kid's pretty much a little weakling brat dude, so his punch barely did anything. And then he just gets jumped by 3 guys. They just all jump on top of him, just bring him down to the floor, no mercy. And they were like, we got you, teacher, you're safe. And the teacher's not going to report them for fighting because, like, I don't know, why would he do that? So sure enough, the school security guard comes down, and he's like, all right, you can let go of the kid. Because, like, all 3 of them had this guy, like, a 3-way headlock or whatever. Just completely strapping him down. And the kid's brought to the front office. And guess what? He fails out of the class. You know what also happens? The school that his dad bought him into sees that he's failing classes and fighting people, so they decide to rescind his application. So this kid, yeah, eventually his dad bought him into a different school, but not the school that he wanted to go to. And he also got in a lot of trouble, so the spoiled kid was no longer able to have unlimited credit cards and infinite time on the mega yacht in the Pacific, right? He now had to actually work a job. And the only reason that Chidi knows this is over the summer, Chidi and his friends went to their local ice cream shop, and who did they see behind the counter? Yeah, the spoiled kid. Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just